Okay, today we're talking to Lauri Stallings. She's choreographer for gloATL and also a big entrepreneur here in Atlanta. Hi Lauri.
Shalom, hello.
Now, tell us a bit about gloATL. What is it all about?
gloATL is a contemporary performance platform. We began in July 2009, about 27 months ago. So we're still very new, very young organization, but in just a short amount of time, I would say an estimated 55,000 Atlantans have experienced our work and go with us on some pretty unusual journeys through contemporary performance.
That's right. And now you've recently visited Israel for a very intense period, I think, of 1 week where you got to see a lot of contemporary dance and recent works by established and upcoming artists in the field. Tell us a bit about, could you tell us what are your highlights from that trip? If you could say, name 3 highlights.
3 highlights. The first highlight is just being on Israeli soil. So does that have to do directly with contemporary dance? Perhaps not, but perhaps it does. So the experiences I've had with Israeli culture have all been visceral up to the end of November when I got to travel there for the first time. And they have a profound sense of self and endurance is the word I would use to describe Israelis, and it certainly trickles into the language of their art. So now I'm getting to the second highlight. Certainly seeing Batsheva live is quite phenomenal, to say the least. Masterworks right in front of you. And that was certainly a highlight. And I guess the third highlight was getting to see the Israeli aesthetic through movement is very genuine, and it's across the board. It's across the board. Everyone seems to have a great sense of discipline and courage. It's really kind of righteous. And they throw a lot of ideas at you and allow you some breathing time to decide for yourself what they might be. So I so appreciated that.
Very nice. So this brings me to my next question. I was going to ask you, what do you think Israeli exploration and dance, what's happening there currently, has to give to American dancers and American choreographers, and particularly to Atlanta?
That's a great question. What does Israeli dance have that the rest of us can learn from? We can talk about Martha Graham and that direct tie that modern dance has to America because of Martha Graham. I think the Israelis they have a sense of self and trusting the way they spend their time, the way they articulate what it is they're trying to express and share through movement, through gesture, and they have found a way to create what I would consider universal gestures that all of us can understand. It doesn't matter that I'm not Israeli, which is silly, right? They defy category, and they. I think they have a sense that they're just getting started. I basically think they want to take over the world of contemporary dance.
And is that good or bad for Atlanta?
Atlanta and Israel, we could be more specific and say a city such as Tel Aviv. This is where my affinity and genuine love for the city that I call home, Atlanta, it's quite unique. Atlanta up to now has had a perhaps series of cultural identities, but they've never necessarily got stuck on one. And I think having us be more communicative and experience Israeli culture, which has been a very, it's been rupturing for a much longer amount of time. There's so much we can learn from the Israelis just when it comes to sustaining this culture and the effort it takes, the economy that it takes, and the commitment that it takes. So those are a few of the things. Atlanta is just poised to begin having relationships, these global relationships that are going to mean everything to us as we progress here. And it's an extremely exciting time here in Atlanta, Georgia. And we're just beginning to see the fruition of these efforts. And Israeli culture has a great deal to do with that, particularly in contemporary dance.
All right, so Off the Edge Festival, tell us a bit about it. It's coming up in January, isn't it?
It is. About a year ago, I met with Leslie Gordon, a wonderful figure in the dance scene here in Atlanta, the director of the Rialto Center for the Arts, and the Lordens Foundation were very generous in wanting to see efforts made in what I was just speaking of, which is reaching outside of Atlanta to bring in, to create relationships with contemporary performance artists throughout the world. And Leslie asked me if I would curate the festival. I would rather call it a series of very special events over a week's time. And indeed, it's going to happen here January 23rd through the 29th. It actually begins and ends with the Israeli modern icon Raina Schoenfeld is here for a week-long residency. And Raina will begin what is an exciting, just very, call it a vortex of energy and movement surrounding contemporary performance. We're thrilled to have it in our city, and it is a first. So thank you, Lordens, and certainly thank you, Leslie Gordon, for having this vision and allowing myself and others to expand upon that vision with all these wonderful initiatives. We have artist-to-artist workshops. We have Edge Public, which is a free-to-the-public series of works by all Atlanta-based artists. And then we have an international guest series, which will take the stage of the Rialto Theater January 27th and 28th at 8 p.m. both nights. And on that program, there's a very delicious influence of Israeli contemporary choreographers. One is Gallim Dance, Andrea Miller, and she certainly has experienced Batsheva with the Keigwin Company and is a very young emerging artist who has an incredible voice. Another Israeli artist is Barak Marshall, whose work will be here with his Los Angeles-based company, BODYTRAFFIC. And Barak Marshall, I consider to be a genius at what we're looking at as dance theater, which is his aesthetic and his language is just for everyone. He leaves no one out. So Off the Edge, January 23rd through the 29th in Atlanta.
This is something great you gave us to expect, and we invite all our audience to come and check it out. Now, last question, I guess, would be, since you just visited Israel for the first time, what would you say surprised you the most, if anything, about your visit and things that you came encounter with, and what would you tell people to expect, people who would be visiting for the first time?
Things that surprised me about Israel, I had no idea that there could be so many pomegranate seeds offered on a daily basis in Jerusalem. I was overwhelmed with, in America, we think it takes too much time to peel a pomegranate. And in Israel, they understand that the fruit is worth peeling. So that's one of them.
And it's a blessing for fertility as well.
That's
and
right.
Creativeness.
Delicious fruit, delicious. What surprised me? I knew that Israelis were very direct and very concrete. I had no idea what that means when you're amidst the masses. That's a level of what is that? Sincerity, but bluntness. That's very unusual for anywhere in the world. So that surprised me. That surprised me. I found Jerusalem to be so much like Rome. And I just wanted to find a big shovel and keep digging with everyone because they're digging everywhere. Certainly, we want to know, right? All those thousands of years that have been built upon. And I just didn't expect there to be such a level of activity going on amidst the digging. So those are a few things that surprised me. Yeah, it was quite fabulous and delicious, and I hope to go back one day.
And we sure hope to have you again. Thank you so much, Lauri Stallings, gloATL.
Shalom, shalom.
Shalom, shalom.